First off the bat, let me say I am incredibly excited about this alpha build of GenerateBlocks and what it's going to bring to the table when it comes to building our websites. Now, you'll know that I'm a real big fan of class-based design systems. Bricks is probably one of my #1 tools for using this. Well, now, in this alpha version of GenerateBlocks and GenerateBlocks Pro, we have a class-based system being integrated into it. So this is going to give us most, if not all, of those benefits that we have building websites in a tool like Bricks, but with a more simplified, streamlined setup, part of my tech stack for 2024. Let me take you through what this does and what it means for you when this is finally released. Now, this is an alpha build. So there's going to be weird quirks and things not necessarily working the way that they should do, but these are pretty much all going to be ironed out by the time they're released. And if you want to check this out for yourself, I'll put a link in the description down below so you can take a look. Okay, so we've got a very simple basic design setup here. We've got two identical sections, they're hero sections. The only difference between the two is the image that's being used. Now, generally, if we take a look at the listing setup on here, you'll see that we've got a really simple setup all going on, just using one of the pre-built templates. And templates is another thing I want to come on to, but we'll talk about that a little later towards the end of the video. So everything is exactly the same inside these other than the image. Now, traditionally, if we wanted to make a change to any of these, like say, for example, we wanted to round the corners on this image, we'd select the image, we'd come over to our options on the right-hand side, we'd come into our borders, we'd link these together, and we'd do something like 2rem. So we now have rounded corners. Pretty cool, nothing you haven't already seen before. But you'll notice, even though these are both identical, other than the image itself, nothing actually happens inside here. And this is where you are basically styling this on the ID level. So this is unique to that specific element and that specific instance of that element. The same goes if we change the text. For example, we'll come into our typography. We'll set this to be something like 600. So we now have bold text. But again, you'll see nothing actually happens underneath. Now, this is good and it's bad. And the nice thing with the class-based system is we have the best of both worlds. So I'll demonstrate what I'm talking about. Let's undo that, and let's start with a blank slate. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to open up the left-hand panel, we're going to expand these out and see exactly what's inside. And I really wish this is one of those areas that inside Gutenberg, they would actually make it so much easier to expand everything, because that takes a lot of clicks. Anyway, so we have the outline of everything going on. So the first thing we're going to need to do is name some of these things to make sure that we have the classes that we can apply. So for example, we're going to come into, let's say we'll just choose our heading. I'm not going to go through all of these because the principle is exactly the same. Let's select our hero heading, and we're going to come over to this new feature on the right-hand side, which is where we can add or create a style. So this is where we can start to take advantage of this global class setup. So the first thing we're going to do is come back to our section, we'll select it, we'll come down, and we're just going to name this. We're going to call this hero section 1. Now, this is just to make my life a little easier, and it's good practice. We're going to do the same thing now for the second hero section. I come down and name that hero section 2. But while I'm doing this, there's a reason why. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to apply a class to the overall container for our actual hero section. So we're going to call this hero. Going to come back over to our classes, and we're going to just type in hero. Click create, and we've now created our class. Now this is going to ask us one of 4 different ways we can operate. Do we want to start with a blank style, so we're starting from scratch? Do you want to clone an existing style, copy the local block style, or move the local block styles over? We're going to create a blank style in this example. So start editing, and now we've applied the class to this overall container. Now, that's not really going to affect things inside it, not the way that we want. So we're going to have to repeat this process. We'll come back onto the global style section in a moment. We'll take a look at all the options in it because there's some very useful ones. But the next thing we're going to do is going to come in this example, to our title. I'm going to do the same thing again, but we're going to use what's called BEM naming. So we know that the hero is the name of our overall container, and then these things that sit inside it are a subsection of that container. So what we're going to do is we're going to put hero to say it's part of the hero container. We're going to use 2 underscore slashes, and then we're going to put what this is. So we're going to say heading 1 in this example. It doesn't really matter too much. This is naming the way that you want to name it to make sense. So we'll click create, and you can see now that still gives us the same options. So we're going to say blank style, start editing. I'm going to do this one more time for the image. So we're going to come down to our image, and inside there we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to click, we're going to do hero underscore underscore, image. Click create and start editing. So now we've created those and we've named them. We can start styling them. So we can attack those actual classes and start applying styles to those. So let's do just that. Let's come back into our hero section and select it. And if we take a look on the right-hand side, you can see we have hero, which tells us the name of the class applied to this. And you see we've got this orangey kind of red block. Now what that's telling us is that we have some block level styling applied to this block. So it's quite nice to see you've got that option there, and you can clear those by simply clicking on the little X. So any sort of block level classes that have been applied, we can click and say we want to remove those styles, and you see that now changes everything there. Let's undo it for now because we want to keep that in place, but you'll see that you can easily clear those. What we're going to do though is we want to affect the hero image by using our global class. So we'll select it, and once we do, you'll see now this opens up a panel that has a lot of the same options it used to as part of the standard sort of GenerateBlocks setup. But these now are going to apply specifically to this global class we've just created. So now, let's do something really simple. We'll come into our borders, we'll link these border radius together, and we'll do something like 1.5 rem. And you see we now get those lovely round borders on there. But you'll also notice that still nothing's happening to the one underneath, and I'll come on to the reason why in a moment, and we'll show how useful this actually is. Okay, so now that we've applied that, we now have all the options we expect to see inside here. Now what I do want to draw your attention to though is at the top. You can see we've got main, which is the standard default style, and we've got hover, which is a pseudo class. So in other words, when you hover over this image or button or whatever it is you've got selected, you can apply whatever styling you want to the hover class. And you can click on that, and then now we can make changes to it. That's pretty cool. But we have more. Funny enough, called more. So we'll click the more button, and inside there, this gives you a full breakdown of all the selectors, and we can target any of those selectors. So if we wanted to affect links or hovered links or hover and focus, we can select those, and now we can make changes to that pseudo class inside here. And you can see if we take a look at the top, it says hero image, a hover, which is our pseudo class. If we come in and do something else like hover and focus, you can see that now gives us hover and focus at the top. Really useful. We've got even more options though. Now breakpoints for responsive design, traditionally we've had 3, which is going to be your desktop, it's going to be your tablet, it's going to be your mobile. Well, with this we've got more options. We can open this up and you can see we've got all devices, so we can target all devices. Then we've got desktop, desktop and tablet, tablet, tablet and mobile, and mobile. So we have more breakpoint options to control more modern ways in which responsive design has to work. So, okay, so now we've got those global styles. That's pretty cool, and we can apply those to whatever we want. So, for example, if we come on to our title for our heading, we can go in and we can select our hero heading and start making styling changes there. And we can also make different changes based upon the device that you're viewing it on. So, let's come back to our image. What we're going to do is we're going to switch this into one of the responsive modes. We'll select our style. We'll switch this over into something like mobile view. And now what we can do is we can change the parameters we want. So let's say for this example, in mobile view, we want our borders to actually disappear. So we'll set all of these to 0. And now when we switch between devices, we'll go back to all devices, we get the rounded corners. We go over to mobile, we lose the rounded corners. You can see how it works. There's nothing that's rocket science here, but we're now doing this at the class level. Okay, so let's jump out of this, jump back into our desktop view. Okay, so we've seen how we can apply this. Now, the best thing comes in if you're not used to working with a class-based system when you start to use those classes in more than one location. So we've applied this here. Now let's come down to our second hero section and let's just apply those classes to this. So what we're going to do is we're going to click, we'll choose hero, which is going to be for our overall container. We'll come in and choose our heading, and we'll set this to be our hero heading 1. And we'll come into our image and we'll set this to be our global class of hero image. And once we do, you can see immediately get those rounded corners. And again, if we switch this into mobile view, those rounded corners are gone. So now we're easily making global changes. So let's go and take another look. Let's say, for example, we wanted to affect our title. So we'll choose any one of our titles, select the global class, and now make changes. So we come to our typography. We'll change the default weight to this, and we'll say we want this to be bold. You can see now that's bold, and also the second instance of that, because it's using the same global class, has updated. You want to change the text, so we say we want to set this to capitalize, and now you can see all of them are capitalized. Pretty cool. Do the same thing if you want to, for example, for the overall hero section container. So we'll select that, select the hero from the top right-hand side, and now what we're going to do is going to our backgrounds, and we'll select a background color, and we'll just choose this pale gray. And now both of those pick that up. But what if you don't want that? What if you want all the benefits of this, but you want this second hero section to have a different background color? No problem. All we need to do is make sure we're not using the class for this. So we're going to jump back out of the classes, select our hero section 2, and then we're going to come in and we're going to just change the background color here. So we'll set this to be this dark blue, for example. And now you can see they're independent of each other because you've got specificity. And what that basically means is when we're applying it to global classes, it'll apply everywhere unless we apply a local class or local style. And that's exactly what we've done here. We've set the background of this to be independent of the actual overall global classes. Now, this is a really simple example of how you can start using it. But hopefully what this will show you is because we can use this class-first design system and we can apply it to various different parts of our design, we can easily make site-wide changes in a matter of seconds. Want to change the way your buttons look? Not a problem. Apply the same class to all your buttons, like your primary buttons, secondary buttons, and so on. Create a global class for that. Make a simple change on any one of those instances, and everywhere your button will change. Images, text sizes, all those things controlled in a matter of seconds across your entire site. Incredibly powerful. Okay, so that's the class-based side of things. Let's take a quick look now at the templates that have been brought into the alpha version, which will be available as the full version when it's released. So to access them, all we need to do is come over to the top right-hand corner and click on the GenerateBlocks icon, and then we can say Open Pattern Library. And you see, there's our pattern library. Now, there's a couple of hundred inside here, and these are all new, using the new way of working. The beauty of this is it's only using minimal setup styling, so you can easily apply your global styles to whatever you want using any of these wireframes. Now, if we take a look at the free version, you can see, I believe there's around 40 available inside the free version. And this includes FAQs, feature sections, hero images or hero sections, and a query loop, which again is available in GenerateBlocks free. So you can create more dynamic websites using these tools, and you can now start to use these free templates. However, if you're a pro user like myself, you now have a couple of hundred available, including things like CTAs, feature sections, galleries, pricing, and so on. Really, really cool and really useful to see. We've got such an abundance of great starting points, all optimized to work the way that we need them to in a modern website setup. So you can easily choose anything you want from here, and then just drop that into your overall design, and you're up and running in a matter of seconds. So let's say we want to grab a hero section. We'll say we like this one. We can preview it if we want to. We can check what it's going to look like on mobile and tablet. So you can check out all those responsive modes. If we're happy, click Insert. So we now have our new hero section inserted in, and now we can start to style this however we want to. So you can see we can easily start to come in, select anything, apply custom global styles to this, and really start to get creative. And there are tons and tons of little quality of life enhancements, and I've only sort of scratched the surface of what is going to be released in this new version when it's out of alpha and beta. But I would recommend checking out all the documentation, which I will link to in the description below. I'm incredibly excited where this is going, because this now gives me the power that I've got inside a tool like Bricks. But when I want to work with simpler sites, lightweight sites that I don't really need all the power that Bricks brings to the table, I can move back to my second tech stack, which has been GeneratePress and GenerateBlocks for the last 18 months, 2 years. Really excited. But let me have your thoughts. Do you think this is a game changer for anyone that's using GenerateBlocks? Are you using GenerateBlocks? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, all applicable links are available in the description. My name is Paul C. This is WPTuts. Until next time, take care.